So I've asked panel to be here today of our colleagues on campus to kind of just share some information with you in regards to how to support your students from afar. We know you're probably going to be the first contact when something doesn't always go well or students may have questions. So we really want you to have the information as well so you can let your students know who to contact, how to support them, what information you receive from today throughout the academic year as they're communicating with you in regards to their year. So panelists, if you don't mind, just first starting, before we get into the questions, with your name and your department here at Eastern Washington University. And I'll start with you.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Deputy Chief Sean O'Laughlin, obviously with the police department.
And I'm Caroline Diaz. I'm the director of the program leading to University Success, or PLUS, which is the tutoring center on campus.
Hello all, my name is Samantha Armstrong Ash, and I serve as the Dean of Students, which is means that I work to help students navigate, and I work with really cool teams on campus to support your students while they're here.
Good morning, my name is Becky Soth, and I do not work for the university. I am a volunteer on the Family Council. Family Council is a group of parents that brings a parent perspective and views back through the Orientation and Family Programming Department.
Yes, so thank you for being here. So we'll start us off with why your unit is key to student safety and success here at Eastern.
We are with the police department. There's 13 commissioned officers that we have here at Eastern. Obviously, we do the public safety for the university. One aspect I think is the most important is that we pride ourselves on dignity and respect. We hope, with your students, some will have engagement with us. We will treat them respectfully. And we also try to our goal is to honestly educate before enforcement. That has been our motto for many years. And so we try to find ways to have our students learn from their mistakes and then try to help them. We work a lot with the Dean of Students through conduct, and so Sam and I talk often, and so we try to find the best avenues to help the student be successful. One thing you're going to have on this is the most important thing that I would probably tell you is our Eagle Safe. If you go to the App Store and you just type in Eagle Safe and you'll see our logo. That is the RAVE app. That is for emergencies. So if we have an emergency on campus, we will use that app to notify the students, and also you could be aware as a parent. And then also the cool thing with that app is that you can notify us on the app, and we will respond to your location here on campus. And also you can call yourself if you want to get yourself out of a situation. You can use the app, and it actually will call your phone as well. So there's a lot of unique steps within the RAVE app, Eagle Safe. And then I'd just like to say this, again, our goal is to build positive relationships with our students. We get out of our cars a lot and we try to engage, and we just want to make sure everybody knows that we're here for their safety. Thank you.
Thank you.
And here at PLUS, we are a very welcoming center. We are located in the library on the main floor all the way back by the windows. And we also serve the students at the Catalyst office, and we have groups there too. We have three main academic support units. We have study groups, academic coaching, study groups, and tutoring. When you think of academic coaching, that really transcends all of not just class-based. That's going to be your study skills, how to become an Eagle. Your students are welcome to use academic coaching. We do a lot of sense of belonging, orienting campus resources through academic coaching, helping your students feel acclimated here on campus. Besides providing them if they need to brush up skills with some time management or figuring out how to make it all work since they're on their own and they don't have a bell system to tell them when to go to class and when not to go to class. For study groups and supplemental instruction, they're very faculty oriented. We partner with our faculty on campus, both for the quarter programs and the semester programs, and we do study groups. So we have a peer mentor who works directly with the faculty, and then they create a study group by sending out a doodle poll to the students, marketing in the classes, and saying, hey, we're gonna have a study group, and they do lessons based on what happens in faculty during lecture. It's an extension of that. Tutoring, we have a three-pronged approach to tutoring. Our biggest one is small group tutoring. That is open. The request form is open. I didn't say that. Academic coaching form is open also. So small group tutoring is the students sign up and they say, hey, I want to work with a tutor the entire quarter. This guarantees them a spot. I'm going to be honest, we get filled up very quickly by the end of the first week of the quarter, but we always have room to move around. Small group tutoring, they work in small groups, about 3 to 5 students, and they're basically saying that they're making a commitment for it. It's not just for the students who need help, it's also for the student who knows they want to go on to a nursing program or a high-level graduate program. They need to ensure that high GPA. For those that just want a little bit of help here and there, we do offer a rich array of drop-in tutoring classes. Those change based on student need and faculty requests every quarter. We will know those closer to September to the start of the quarter. And those are in person and small group tutoring in JFK at the library. And then we also partner with the Western E-Tutoring Consortium, where we do online tutoring. And this is a really cool partnership that we have tutors that come from colleges and universities from California to Utah, and they're all fully trained. But let's say your student, it's 3 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon, they're working on their calculus homework and they need help. Their tutor is not available, they don't have a scheduled time for that time, they can log on to e-tutoring and there will be a tutor there to help them. What I always say is you're gonna probably get the panic call saying, hey, I'm not doing so well in my class, where do I go? Remember, we're apparently #1 on the card this year, so that's fabulous. Say, hey, have you gone over to the Plus Center? They'll take care of you. And all they have to do, they can email, they can call, they can just pop in to the desk and say, hey, can you know what resources I have for this particular class? And one of the professional staff will be glad to figure out a good plan for them. Thank you.
Well, I work with incredible teams, and one of the things that's important for, I think, families to think about, guardians, people that are invested in students, is that this is, for all intents and purposes, a small town, a little city, right? We have a lot of departments and organizations dedicated to helping the students that we have in our care and in our trust make it to graduation and see through their academic goals. Working in student affairs, there are units that I oversee and I will go over those, but what I want you to think about is in student affairs on a college campus, you have proactive focused areas and reactive focused areas. And so some of those proactive focused areas can really contribute to your students' safety, success, and well-being on a college campus. And so those proactive areas are not necessarily the ones that I oversee, but that I will partner with. And they are things like Maria's unit. They are student activities, involvement, leadership, recreation, so clubs and organizations, housing and residential life. So if your student works on connecting with campus resources, getting a job on campus, working to set up their community, they will more likely retain with the institution, learn how to navigate the institution and be successful, and they're at a little bit lower risk for some of the reactive spaces that we see, right? Now, those don't guarantee if they're working to do all of that they won't need some additional support and some additional care. And if that happens, we have really amazing humans that work in counseling and wellness services, and that's a team that reports up through me, and student accommodation and support services, and they're both on your card. And so ways to connect with those organizations, so student accommodations and support services in particular is both a proactive space and a reactive space. So if you have a student that has had accommodations through their K-12 or their Running Start or community college academic career, working with student accommodations on a college campus before they even enter is going to be really key. There's documentation that they need to submit to get those set up and to start working on them. And then they don't automatically apply to the student. So a student needs to, every term that they're taking classes, request that their accommodations be forwarded to their faculty member and then work with their faculty member on that. So there are some differences there in the accommodations realm. And again, that's in the risk and student success space, is making sure that they have what they need and the support structures that they need. My biggest tip for you is, again, to download some of those apps. So the Eagle Safe app, that helps you have the alerts and know how to have conversations with them about how to keep themselves safe. I run a fairly popular Instagram page for both students and parents and alumni that often will send out updates and advice, student success advice, adulting 101 advice, and I answer all of the direct messages. So I have a couple of students, y'all, that I have never met, but we are besties on the Insta, and they think that I'm their personal phone a friend. And so, which I, to some extent, am. And the idea behind that is to meet them where they're at, but then also get them connected beyond that, right? We can't do everything through an app on a college campus, and this is something we're still working on, given the few years of pandemic and some of the things that your student or the student that you're working with has experienced, right? So helping them and learning how to coach them to get connected with the community resources will be a preventative and a safety measure for all you. And however I can help and answer questions, now you know kind of, I'm a little bit of a generalist up here, and that's where I can answer questions for you.
Becky, I have a unique question for you.
Uh-oh.
Because as Becky said, she's not an employee of Eastern Washington University, which we would love to hire you, Becky, because you're amazing. But about a year ago, maybe over a year, Josh would have to, my boss back there would have to correct me on my dates here. We were asked to really think about how to support our families, how to support our parents who are supporting their students while they're attending. So we created a family council. And so we have on our website where you, if you would like to be a part of our family council, could apply. But Becky currently has a student here. She applied to be on our family council. We have 7 members right now on our council. And really what I love about our council is that it gives us a perspective from our families, from our parents, letting us know how to help support them, supporting your students. So Becky has a unique role here because she's coming to you as a parent of a current student. So Becky, your question is, well, I just answered the first one. About a year you've been on the family council, and this is your second year as being part of our orientation, so thank you. But what your perspective of being on this council for the past year, supporting your son, and what does that mean to you and encouraging the families to be involved with the council?
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah. So your son, if you want to share his name or year, or just a year in school, and why you joined the council and how to encourage families to participate in the family council.
So my son is, I think, a senior. I'm hoping. We actually came the first year, and my son was going to come part-time. And he was told he was going to be a music major. And I can remember we were traveling at the time, and he was coming to orientation, and someone called him and said, well, as a music major, you can't be part-time. You'll have to be full-time. And he was crushed. He didn't know how to do it. We were away, and he was going to come to orientation on his own, and he decided not to come to orientation. And we struggled, but by the fall, we got him in full-time, and it just wasn't what he expected. And we didn't have a good year. And he ended up coming home. So he felt like a failure, but he is now back. He actually came back right before the pandemic. He is successful. But as a parent, it's a horrible feeling to not be connected. And the family council gave us a connection. One of the things for us is that summer, There were 3 different advisors from him. We were trying to let him do it on his own. We had to get involved, but we also then had to let go. And I think that's one of the things that, for me, there's an EWU parent chat page if you're on Facebook. If you're not, you might want to get there because there's about 1,800 parents. It's one of the places that the Family Council does not administrate it, but we participate in it. And if there's subjects coming up over and over again, we will come back and maybe say to the Family Council, we just want to put a bug in your ear that this is really an issue with parents right now, or parents are struggling with this, so that the university knows we as parents need support for our child. They are no longer children, they are becoming students, collegians, but Sam and I were just talking, when we went to college, we called our parents on Sunday evening, or they called us, that was it. I know that the minute something goes wrong with your student, you are the first text, right? Or you want to be, and you panic. How do I help them? It's harder, I think, to remove yourself and support your student and to let them advocate for themselves. And so that parent chat page, especially during the pandemic, was the source to support parents. And I think in this stage, in the pandemic, and politically, and stress, and online classes, all the things that have gone on for a student that aren't the typical of like when I went to college, or our perception of college has changed. And supporting the parent is as important as supporting the student because you are their lifeline. So I think that's where when we come back with things and discuss them in our Zoom meetings in Family Council, sometimes they're very light. They're like, how do we do orientation? How do we help with this event? And sometimes they're very, they're pretty intimate. And for me, I would suggest to any of you to go back and right now spend time on the website and know what the resources are. Take a couple of hours, take a pad of paper, every week maybe commit an hour between now and when your student begins to just cruise through the website and read. Because I can remember, I didn't know that you would jump my son's car when the battery died. He was in trouble one day, and I happened to have read it, and he was in trouble. He had to make it to an important appointment. He panicked, called Mom. Car's dead. What am I going to do? How am I going to get there? There's no Ubers in Cheney. And I said, you know what? I think the police department will come in. And sure enough, they were there in 5 minutes and jumped him. We have used that service several times with our old car, I'll let you know. But knowing that those things are there so that you don't feel panicked because your student's panicked. So keeping a pad of paper with resource numbers, things that you can call, you know, whether your student needs a well check because you haven't heard it from him in 3 weeks and you're not sure that he's still out there. There's just things that you need to know because you're on that constant text message and you know that they can hear you. You don't have to wait for a Sunday call. So is that kind of what you wanted?
Yes.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you, Becky. So, like Becky was alluding, and you're the first probably that students will contact and asking, you know, this happened today, or I need help, or I'm not sure who to call, or I don't want to call. That we also often get students who we know need that support, but they often don't want to be that first callers. You can be those first callers to us. Now, we can't share everything. There is the, I'm spacing the name, ORI.
Yeah, release of information.
Release ROI, thank you. You now have to do a release of information. So you may want to have those kind of conversations with your students in regards to releasing information from the students, from us to you as parents. But really, our goal is here to help you so you can encourage them to reach out to us and you can encourage them to reach out to the services that you're hearing from today. So you talked a little bit about the app and then Rave, but what are some other services that you provide? I know like the cadets on campus.
Sure.
And some of other resources that you offer, and how unique you have officers for the resident halls as well.
Perfect. We do have a cadet program. We have 4 cadets. Those are students that are interested in getting into law enforcement. So we actually pay them a part-time hourly wage, and we bring them in and we give them training, and they ride with the officers and they go on calls for service. And then we also have resident hall officers. We really try to work hard with the resident halls to get out and engage with students in the resident halls. We also have a liaison officer for athletics. We do travel with athletic football team for away games, and we've really worked diligently in there. So we try to engage in a lot of ways. We provide jump starts, as I said. If the students have a question about anything safety-wise, we do that. Obviously, I talked about the Rave app. We do winter car checks. So normally, and you probably will see us again during the dorm check-in, we get out to the parking lots and introduce ourselves and welcome your students and you, because it is stressful that first day when you're moving your student into the resident halls. And so we play a big role in the resident move-in. We do winter car checks as we talked about the jump starts. So right before winter break, we will, with our cadets, go out and actually check your students' cars before, especially if they live on the west side of the state, getting over the pass. So we do that as well. Defensive tactics. We provide safety classes. Officer Carlos is retired Air Force, very extensive in defensive tactics, and so we will do classes for some of the resident halls and also some of the sororities. And so that's another service that we provide. We can do engraving, so if somebody wants to do engraving on something of value, we can do that as well. I would say crime-wise on our campus, knock on wood, we have a pretty low crime rate. Crime is increasing in the city a little bit, but overall, I think our students do feel safe. We are also can do escorts, our cadets or ourselves. We'll do escorts if a student needs something. So ultimately, our goal is just to make the community safe. We engage with all the different departments in our student groups and try to provide any service that might be needed.
Thank you.
Yep.
So we talked about the resources already in terms of your areas. But Caroline, maybe one advice to students, maybe students who need a little edging to go to Plus or tutoring or whatnot. So what advice could you give them in encouraging their student to come see your office?
One advice is that we hear a stigma, oh, tutoring is for those who aren't doing well. Tutoring is actually for everyone, and it is for those students, like I've said, who want to and keep their high GPA and get into a higher level program, such as nursing as well. I always say it's better to sign up for tutoring and then email us or come in and say, hey, I'm doing okay in the class, I don't think I need it. It's better to sign up ahead of time than wait until midterms till you're on the fence and then you go, oh goodness, what did I do? I need help. We still will help you. That's not an issue. You just let us know. I always just say it's not it's better earlier rather than later so that we can build that foundation if there's anything that you were needed a little bit, because everybody comes in at a different level, so we can build up the foundation too. Just know who we are and that we're here to help you at any time throughout your journey. The other piece that I'd like to say is we are one of the largest employers of students. So once you have a few quarters under your belt, we would love to hire your students. We hire about 70 student workers a quarter. So we would love to have them come and join the Plus family.
Awesome, thank you. So Dean Armstrong, you wear many hats and you're representing many departments. On the cards, I apologize, I didn't point out, thank you, Caroline, for pointing out that you're number 1 on this sheet. Obviously, the police officers are number 3, but Dean Armstrong is overseeing number 2, which is the Dean of Students office. Number 4 on your sheet is counseling and wellness services. And then you talked a little bit already about number 6, which is student accommodations and support services. But I think oftentimes students don't know that there is counseling support or wellness support. So maybe if you could talk a little bit about, our counseling center, our wellness center, our SAS center, and really letting all of you know of support services that we have for students who may find themselves needing some support in those areas.
So we are fully aware in our society and on our college campuses that mental health is one of the #1 things that we are grappling with our students, and I would say even our faculty and staff, right? This is a space in society that everybody is trying to figure out how to navigate. If you have a student who is coming to us and has a practice or has already been set up with a counselor at home, there's a couple of things I would recommend on that front. One is with the advent of telehealth, can they continue that relationship with somebody that they've already established with and have a trusting relationship? And if that's not possible and they're used to a regular counseling appointment and there's something particular that they're working on, it's really important to start getting them set up with a practitioner that's in this region or area. So even if they don't come to campus with a vehicle or a car, their Eagle card gets them is a bus pass that they just swipe it and it counts, and they can get into Spokane as well. And so on our website, we have what's called, it's termed Thriving Campus. And if your student is going to be looking for a therapist or practitioner in this area, it will help show you who is available based on their needs, and it has all the insurances, like 80 different insurances listed, and so you can select all of those and get them on a list. And I would do that right away, because we do have counseling services on campus, but our counseling services on campus are a brief intervention model. And so what that means is we work with students that have like an immediate crisis, or students that are going through something and need to get set up, and we do have somebody that will also help them identify somebody to work with them long term. So we do have a robust counseling center on campus. Right now I believe we have, I want to say 8 full-time practitioners, licensed therapists with either a strict counseling background or a social work counseling background that can work with your students if they're in need, and those are on campus. We also have Talk Campus, which is it's an app, and it's peer-to-peer, and so sometimes that can be really beneficial. And also what I like about that is texting will translate it into first language for students as well. And so that is accessible. And if there's anything that is flagged when they reach out, and that's a 24/7 service, our counseling center will be notified, and a full-time staff member will reach out to your student and work with them on that. So we do have counseling and wellnesses in that space. If your student is it's not necessarily a mental health crisis. It is mental health, but it's more in the realm of homesickness, or how do I navigate campus, or I'm really struggling with a faculty member and that is super stressful. That is really under student support services. So that's student accommodation and support services. And in the last year, we have added, it's really amazing, 6 full-time team members, most with social work backgrounds, to get students connected with resources, help coach them, help them navigate the institution. If you have any concerns about your student at all, on our website is what's called, you can just do EWU iCare, and it'll come up as an iCare form, and you as a invested person in a student's life can go on there, put in what's going on, what your concern is, and a staff member will reach out to your student and request for them to come in and connect with us so that we can get them the resources that they need and some additional support. They can also put in a form, and that's called a student intake form, And that student intake form will initially connect them with that student accommodation and support services team, and then if it is related to counseling, get them over to counseling. But I do want to make sure that you all know that while we provide counseling on campus, and we will do our best to meet your student needs, it is not a substitute if they are used to a regular, let's say, once a week appointment, or if they need that. So we are happy to help you navigate, and hence Thriving Campus, that goes out to all of the providers in the area, and actually even nationally, that are doing telehealth, and kind of helps you narrow down to get on some lists there.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yep.
At this time, I want to open it up to questions because we did great. Did Xavier leave? I think he left. So everyone hears the question, sir. Either speak very loudly or I can get you the mic. Okay.
I think it's it should be for the dean of students. If there's an issue, I mean, we are the first one our kids reach out to. We don't always like to, we want them to be active for themselves. But if there's an issue that we feel that needs to involve, not quite a 911 situation, but maybe a cadet situation, who do we reach out to? That be the chief themselves or the dean of students?
Okay, this is my favorite thing to do to my colleague up here, which there is a number that our IT totally mess with them on, and it is 359-7676, which does translate to Popo on your cell phone. And we like humor on this campus, so we do that to each other. That non-emergency number, an officer will pick up. And that sometimes can be a good place to start. However, if it's not imminent, like it needs to be addressed, within the 5 hour, right? So you have your 911 situation, you have I would like somebody to reach out and this to be addressed within this amount of time, and let's say it's 7 o'clock at night. That's a really good number to call, and Deputy O'Loughlin will give you some other details on that. You can also put in that I-CARE form, so even if it's conduct, you can put in an I-CARE form and we will route it through conduct. Somebody else is impacting them in that way. If it's living in the residence halls, that will also get to them. So that the I-CARE form, I actually think is really a good way to flag people, and we look at those as they come in, and they flag several teams. So they flag law enforcement, depending on what it is, not all the time, depending on what you check. They'll flag law enforcement, they'll flag somebody in residence life, it'll flag my office, it'll flag student conduct, it'll flag student accommodation and support services, and then we work as a team to make sure that the right services and outreach is put into place. Does that help?
Yeah, that does.
Okay.
And I'd like to add on to that. So we are here 24 hours a day. So the 7676, we do respond to a lot of welfare checks for students. So parents do call us, and if you do have a concern, please call us. What we do is a lot of times we will be that first contact. We'll figure out what the concern is or whatever the student's going through. And then we have weekly meetings, like Sam and I talk, I don't know, probably 7 and 8 times a week, it seems like, with students. And we look and we try to figure out, okay, what resources do we need to provide for a student to be successful?
One other thing that I just thought of, which is, and this is good if your student lives in the residence halls. In the residence halls posted is the RLC on-call number, which is it's a permanent staff member that lives in the halls, and they are on call for that weekend or that week type of thing. And so having them know to make sure that they reach out to their RLC and they have that number stored in their phone. Let's say they get locked out of the halls, that kind of thing. That number being stored in their phone, and our staff members just trade the phone, right? And so somebody will pick that up. They should also have their CA's number stored in their phone, so their community advisor living in the halls, because oftentimes if they're living in the halls, that's a first line of contact that will also help reach out. I love law enforcement on this campus, and they do so much, but sometimes, depending on what it is, they're nervous about doing that, and our CA and RLC will bridge that with law enforcement and bring law enforcement in. So if you're struggling with them to make the call to law enforcement, sometimes the relationship with the community advisor or the RLC
Yeah.
will help bring in
Yeah.
law enforcement, or even me.
And just to add on that, we know as in law enforcement, when we show up in this uniform, it does create an angst for students, and we know that. So we do try to find the best way to mitigate. So there's a lot of times we will take a secondary, or we do have a plainclothes detective that we have that will come out and be in plainclothes just to help some of those stressors that we know students have just with law enforcement, because it might be their first contact.
I think we had another question down here. You can give her the mic. Thank you.
Thank you guys this morning for sharing your information. It's been really helpful. I did have 2 follow-up questions. One, you mentioned an Instagram account, and how would we find out what that is to share with our students?
They have the sticker in there.
Oh, sure. It is on this card. So
Okay.
it's at DOSEWU. So it is on this
Perfect.
card. I will tell you your students all got, I think they all got orientation stickers. And on this sticker, I'm super shameless about that. The Instagram handle is on all of those stickers. There's a lot of, we have student designers. They're so cool. They are so cool. Our students are cool. And they design stickers for me. They really feel very strongly that I should have a new one drop every quarter. And so they design one every quarter, and it's always on those stickers as well.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
And then the other one was the Facebook page for parents you mentioned.
It's EWU Parent Chat. And you have to ask to join. There's not a bunch of questions, but they do. There's administrated really, really well. Most positive, healthy page I've ever seen on Facebook. And especially during COVID, our parents came through for each other. We do everything there from, oh my gosh, I forgot my son's birthday. Where can I get a birthday cake delivered tomorrow? Or my son has gone through this, and this. He can't get to his professor, and we say, call Sam. But we try and turn you back to the resources that are here, but we also understand that you have concerns as a parent, and you'll see that one post can get 10 people saying, this was my daughter's experience. This was my son's experience. If I were you, I would try this. This is what we went through. And it can be really helpful, especially when you're getting, crickets from your student as they try and go through it. You can then say, have you tried this? You don't have to say, the parent chat page said. You can say, these are some avenues you should try. So.
Thank you. Thank you for your question. Any others?
Oh, so Residence Life Coordinator. So that's what RLC stands for, and it's a permanent staff member. And so that phone number, when they move into the halls, is posted in the halls. It's posted everywhere. They just need to look at the signs in the halls their first week and then put it in their phone. I don't know the number off the top of my head.
Any other questions? Any last advice you would like to give to the families?
I do. We just asked our parents that were graduating from the page, what were the things that they would most tell a new parent? And almost everyone said, this is your son or daughter's experience. The first year you want to hold on tight, but the goal for us is to let go. So to learn for them to advocate and to reach to these resources themselves. And so I encourage you, I know parents who are still making phone calls to professors in their junior year, and I'm like, stop. This is the most important thing I think that they learn in life, because this is their last protected kind of environment that they do that. And the other thing is, I will tell you that this is the hot topic right now. I believe extra large twin is the size of the beds in the dorm. And do not wait until August to buy these things, because they will be gone. Especially here, don't wait to come, if you're from out of town, don't wait to come here, because we've got Whitworth and Gonzaga, WSU, U of I, and EWU. And if you go to Target the week that you arrive with your student, you ain't gonna find nothing. So, even, I was at TJ Maxx yesterday. They've got lots of linens, lots of comforters, and if you want your extra large twin, get on it. There you go.
I love it. Becky will be at the resource fair, so thank you. She's doing dual hat today because she'll be here. And I think others might have a table at the resource fair too. Not sure.
All of the departments I oversee will be
Be
at the resource fair. Please,
yeah.
this is a great opportunity, by the way, for your students to get some stress relief things and school supplies, like get those pens and pencils
Yeah.
and highlighters. You don't have to buy them.
We have a magnet also that Becky will give out. So we created with the help of Dean Armstrong here. We really wanted these magnets for all of you families to have on your fridge. I know I give you that card. There's other information, some same, some a little bit different in terms of asking your student questions throughout the academic year. One being, have you met with your academic advisor? You have their contact information on that, but on the magnet, it tells you that they should be meeting with their advisor each quarter. Those are just some conversation starters that you can have with your student and asking them, have they been doing these things throughout the year? So Becky will have those at her table. And then also be sure and sign up to be part of our newsletter through our family programs that I also oversee. And we want to make sure that all of you get the information, get the emails. We have webinars throughout the year for families on different topics from mental health, how to support your student, to just a lot of different topics. And those live and on our page. So if you're curious what topics we've had, please go to our website and then you can see that, but we'll have more information and that's how you can sign up if you go visit Miss Becky and sign up for those. Anything else? Okay. We really appreciate your time and dedication to your students, and please give them a round of applause for being here this afternoon.